Well, severe Category 5 Cyclone Yasi slammed into far north Queensland early this morning, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. A 50-kilometre stretch of coast between the towns of Cardwell and Tully bore the brunt of the storm. Well, so far there have been no confirmed deaths, but 2 people have been reported missing in the Innisfail area. Thousands of homes have been severely damaged. Many will be condemned. Around 200,000 properties are without power, and it may be weeks before all of those can be reconnected. Daya Clark reports.
Gale force winds heralded Cyclone Yasi's arrival at around midnight. By all accounts, it was a terrifying night. The noise of the howling wind was deafening. Roof iron and street signs became flying missiles.
It was horrendous. It frightened me. Never been through nothing like that before. Have been through a couple of cyclones, but it really frightened me.
The Premier and emergency services bosses were bunkered down in Brisbane, preparing for the worst.
I'm very relieved this morning.
There are no reports of injuries or lives lost, but 2 men have been reported missing. Damage to phone lines is hampering police investigations.
And we're very hopeful that with the restoration of those services, any missing persons will be able to be identified very quickly.
Coastal communities south of Cairns bore the full brunt of Cyclone Yasi, and at first light residents returned to assess the damage. Even getting into Mission Beach was a challenge. The once idyllic beachside town lay in ruins. Trees that once lined the village green were ripped apart and tossed around like twigs, and the beach showed scars of the cyclone's destructive force. Some houses escaped major damage, but others weren't so lucky.
Well, their whole top level was just gone. Over into our pool and house.
The only thing left standing in this house is the toilet.
I think it'll take a while. Mission Beach will suffer. We've copped it this time, and worse than when Larry come through, I think.
For businesses already struggling, it's another setback.
A lot of people here have closed prior to the cyclone, so everyone's going to be in really, really big trouble financially. Yeah.
Further south, the road into the sugar town of Tully was cut by floodwater this morning, holding up residents anxious to get back into their homes. When the road finally reopened, the signs were ominous. Trees have been stripped bare and vital infrastructure decimated. In town, street after street tells the story. 1 in 3 homes have been destroyed. Gail Anderson fled her home during the lull as the eye of the storm passed over.
And I thought, there's no way could I stay in that bathroom for another 4 or 5 hours.
Rolly Newton's business premises didn't survive either.
This is 34 years of work here.
Innisfail residents were bracing for a repeat of Cyclone Larry, but the town escaped the worst. The same can't be said for the region's farmers. Cane fields have been flattened, banana trees snapped in 2.
It's devastating, but the way the banana industry was, it wasn't looking real bright. But the thing is, there's not many growers who are going to have enough money to get back on their feet. That's the hard thing.
In Townsville, despite the drenching, the water supply is about to run out. As power lines tumbled down, they cut off crucial operations, including the main reservoir.
Our water treatment plant at Douglas, our major sewage treatment plants and the council's communication system have all been put offline.
The tidal surge also carried sewage into thousands of homes and businesses. Authorities say it'll be weeks before emergency repairs can be carried out. In the meantime, the council will truck in extra water for residents.
Use water over the next couple of days simply for drinking purposes.
Despite predictions of serious flooding, Cairns escaped the worst, but residents weren't taking any chances. 11,000 people spent the night in 20 storm shelters across north and far north Queensland.
I'm happy to head home. Yeah, see if I got a house.
But the threat is not over yet. Cyclone Yasi has been downgraded to a Category 1, but is still bringing heavy rain.
We are expecting around 200 to 300 millimetres more rain over the next 24 hours plus. So there is significant localised flooding and isolation issues in a number of communities in the region.
The Prime Minister arrived in Townsville tonight. She'll survey the cyclone damage tomorrow.
I did want to come as quickly as I could to be able to say hello to people who have been through such a frightening experience.
500 SES volunteers will be flown into affected areas once the damage assessment is done. The Premier, Anna Bligh, says the reconstruction effort will be massive and so will the bill.
Of course, the flood appeal will now have to broaden out to be a wider disaster appeal.
Cyclone Yasi should be downgraded to a tropical low by the time it hits Mount Isa, 900 kilometres inland. It's the third cyclone in Queensland this year, and the Weather Bureau says it probably won't be the last.
There definitely could be more. We're still only into the middle of the cyclone season, and normally we do see most of our cyclones from February through to March.
The good news is there's no imminent threat. Daya Clark, Lateline.